Ladies and gentlemen, guests, please stand. Their Excellencies, the Right Honourable Dame Cindy Kero, Governor-General of New Zealand, and Dr. Richard Davis.
Please be seated. E ngā mana, e ngā reo, e ngā iwi o ngā hau e whā, tēnei aku mihi mahana ki a koutou. Nau mai hara mai ki te whare kāwana kei konei. Kia ora mai tātou katoa. Distinguished guests, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to Government House today for the investiture ceremony. I'd like to specifically acknowledge the Honourable Pini Henare, Minister of the Crown, Air Marshal Kevin Short, Chief of Defence, Air Vice Marshal Tony Davies, Vice Chief of Defence, Major General John Boswell, Chief of Army, Air Vice Marshal Andrew Clark, Chief of Air Force, Mr Joe Harawira, Government House Kaumātua, and Mrs Rānui Ngārimu, Kuia. Hosting investiture ceremonies is one of the most important duties that I perform on behalf of Her Majesty, the Queen of New Zealand. It's very special to bring together such an extraordinary group of New Zealanders. You have each brought pride and a greater sense of well-being to Aotearoa New Zealand through your outstanding achievements and your service to our communities. On behalf of all New Zealanders, I extend my sincerest thanks for your contributions. After each recipient is honoured, I invite you all to join with me in congratulating them. Ms. Catriona McLeod will now read and summon the recipients and read their citations.
Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Dr. Michelle Hawke of Hawarden for services to gymnastics. Dr. Michelle Hawke gained her Federation of International Gymnastics, or FIG, International Brevet, judging qualification for Women's Artistic Gymnastics, or WAG, in 1980, and has judged at World Championships, Pacific Rim Championships, Junior Commonwealth Cup, and Australian Youth Olympics. She's been coaching liaison and judging liaison on the WAG National Technical Committee and is now chairperson. She's been an international tour team official covering judging, coaching, and team management for 18 Gymnastics New Zealand tours. She is a GNZ coaching and judging course presenter, She established the New Zealand Junior Development Training Squad and oversaw the review and upgrade of the WAG STEPS program. Dr. Hawke is a board member of the Christchurch School of Gymnastics, undertaking judge education and mentoring for the club. Dr. Michelle Hawke, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Dr. Linda Bryant of Wellington, for services to pharmacy and health. Dr. Linda Bryant has informed significant changes in hospital and primary care pharmacy, supporting pharmacists to enhance the health of medicine takers and raising awareness on drug-related morbidity and mortality. She was a founding member and president of the Clinical Advisory Pharmacists Association, which supports new clinical advisory pharmacists to encourage a collaborative and positive approach in settings outside of traditional community pharmacies. She was a senior lecturer at the University of Auckland and now holds honorary teaching positions there and at the University of Otago. She is a valuable resource for the Goodfellow unit, providing education for GPs and general practice nurses, and delivers clinical symposiums for health providers. Dr. Bryant is a member of the Medicines Adverse Reactions Committee, which reviews and makes recommendations on medicine safety. Dr. Linda Bryant, please come forward. Reverend Iliafi Asera of Whanganui for services to the Samoan community and Christian ministry. Reverend Iliafi Asera is senior pastor of Faith City Church in Whanganui and provides leadership for Faith City School. He is overseer for Faith City United Church in Australia, New Zealand and Samoa. He is the first non-European General Superintendent of Assemblies of God in New Zealand. He oversees 600 ministers and 231 churches in New Zealand and is overseer of Great Life International Churches in Australia, New Zealand, the United States, and Samoa. He's helped establish Maori Assemblies of God churches around the country. He established the Samoan Pastors and Leaders International Network. He has fundraised for overseas Christian missions and natural disaster relief efforts in Asia and the Pacific. Reverend Asera heads the To'omanga Ministry, which supports people, particularly Samoans, with legal and family violence issues. Reverend Iliafi Asera, please come forward. Professor John Hutton of Wellington for services to women's health education. Professor John Hutton became a member of the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists in 1974, later becoming Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the Wellington School of Medicine. He introduced secondary obstetrics and gynecology services to the Kapiti Coast and spent 12 years in this posting. In the 1980s, he advocated for the continued availability of the injectable contraceptive Depo-Provera, rebutting misinformation of possible carcinogenesis. He became Deputy Dean of the Wellington School of Medicine, upgraded the postgraduate education requirements for New Zealand trainees in obstetrics and gynecology, and developed student services for women's health. He founded the New Zealand Infertility Society, now Fertility NZ. Since retiring from clinical practice, Professor Hutton has developed an electronic logbook for trainee interns and an electronic learning resource for undergraduates. Professor John Hutton, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mr. Lester Rutledge of Invercargill for services to rugby and the community. Lester Rutledge was a rugby union player for the All Blacks and Southland. He coached the Southland team for 2 years and has been an administrator for the club for decades. He was assistant coach of the under-19 New Zealand rugby team and the Italian national team. He managed the Highlanders rugby team. He is president and a life member of Southland Rugby Union. He endorsed and has been the face of the Southland Bowel Screening Programme with the Southern District Health Board. Mr. Rutledge regularly drives the Myros Bush school bus and created Match Fit, a basic rugby fitness programme for older men in Bluff facing health issues. Mr. Lester Rutledge, please come forward. Air Commodore Darren Webb for services to the New Zealand Defence Force. Air Commodore Darren Webb has served with the New Zealand Defence Force for 31 years in a range of command and leadership positions. In 2020, he was seconded to the all-of-government effort to protect New Zealand from COVID-19. He helped develop and enact a plan to enable New Zealanders and foreign nationals to return home. He then became head of Managed Isolation and Quarantine, MIQ, providing a safe system to prevent COVID-19 encroaching into communities and providing advice and assurance to government. Air Commodore Webb is well regarded for transforming New Zealand's approach to MIQ into a world-leading end-to-end system to provide New Zealanders with confidence. Air Commodore Darren Webb, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the Queen's Service Medal, Mrs. Clare Eyes of Pukekohe, for services to midwifery. Clare Eyes is a practicing community midwife in Franklin. She helped prevent closure of the Pukekohe maternity unit in the 1990s and secured funding to start the Pukekohe Maternity Resource Centre. She was president of the New Zealand Nurses Organisation, Franklin Branch. She was involved with negotiations for pay parity for nurses and midwives and assisted the Ministry of Health to set up a structure for midwives providing lead maternity care. She was NZNO representative to the New Zealand Council of Women. Through Rotary, Mrs. Eyes led teams of midwives and health workers to attend leadership courses in Australia. Mrs. Clare Eyes, please come forward. Mrs. Te Reahia Papesh of Hamilton for services to the community and public service. Te Reahia Papesh has been Regional Commissioner for the Ministry of Social Development for more than 22 years. She is currently Regional Public Service Lead for the Waikato region. She co-chairs the Caring for Communities Oversight Committee and Regional Leadership Group. She led MSD's response to COVID-19 in the Waikato. She's been involved with the Waikato Regional Housing Initiative, Waikato Wellbeing Project, and many community boards and committees. She is Secretary-Treasurer of Hui Te Rangiora Catholic Marae Incorporated. Mrs. Papesh was chair of Taioha Toa, a charitable trust with the Hamilton Police working to reduce youth offending. Ms. Te Reahia Papesh, please come forward. Mr. Nick Perrin of Wellington for services to historical research. Nick Perrin has been a volunteer member of the Friends of Bolton Street Cemetery for almost 40 years, including time as president. As a volunteer researcher, he led the creation and development of a database of detailed historical records, providing 8,500 names, death and burial records to Wellington City Council. He's continued to verify names and details and helped hundreds of people with ancestral information inquiries. Mr. Perrin is past national president and honorary life member of the Cactus and Succulent Society of New Zealand, with almost 50 years' involvement, and is president of the Wellington Hutt Valley branch. Mr. Nick Perrin, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of the New Zealand Distinguished Service Decoration, Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Blythen for services to the New Zealand Defence Force. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Blythen has been posted to the Strategic Commitments and Engagement Branch of the New Zealand Defence Force as the Deputy Director, Strategic Commitments Domestic since May 2018. In this role, Lieutenant Colonel Blythen is the primary NZDF point of contact for all of government domestic security and emergency response requirements. He has faced an unprecedented number of significant and complex domestic emergencies during his tenure that have required considerable and, in some cases, sustained NZDF support. These have included the COVID-19 pandemic, the March 2019 Christchurch terror attack, the Whakaari White Island eruption, bushfires in New Zealand and Australia, droughts and floods. It's also included the proactive commitment to many planned major national events, including the 2021 America's Cup Sailing Regatta, APEC 21, until it transitioned to a virtual event, and coordinating support to Hui of national significance. During the initial stages of the national response to the COVID-19 pandemic, at short notice, he led the establishment of an NZDF strategic COVID-19 response cell that operated 7 days a week to ensure the NZDF was responsive and effective in supporting the national Level 4 lockdown period. Lieutenant Colonel Blythen has covered a near-continuous series of challenging national emergencies, demonstrating professionalism and industriousness towards ensuring New Zealand has had the best national response options for the safety of its citizens. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Blythen, please come forward. Wing Commander Richard Deal for services to the New Zealand Defence Force. Wing Commander Richard Deal has served with the Royal New Zealand Air Force since 1998 and has held staff positions across the wider New Zealand Defence Force. On 19th of June 2020, Wing Commander Deal was seconded to lead the Auckland Regional Isolation and Quarantine Command Centre for the all-of-government response to the COVID-19 global pandemic. He has led a multi-agency team for the safe and effective management of returnees arriving in New Zealand through the Auckland-based Managed Isolation and Quarantine MIQ facilities. He managed the delivery of 17 isolation facilities and the Jet Park Quarantine facility, encompassing approximately 3,000 staff. He developed key relationships across a range of public and private partners, from chief executives to private contractors. He responded to challenges such as returnees absconding from facilities, managing deportees from Australia, and escalated security risks from drug, alcohol, and mental health concerns. He displayed leadership in the health workforce transition from privately contracted nursing staff to a district health board operating model. He created an inclusive and transparent environment, promoting clear lines of communication, and his leadership was a critical element in the delivery of essential services by senior healthcare staff. Wing Commander Deal delivered and managed a world-leading end-to-end sustainable model that permitted the rapid and safe transition of returnees through the isolation and quarantine facilities. This model became the national standard and has been regarded internationally as world's best practice. Wing Commander Richard Deal, please come forward. Your Excellency, the investiture has concluded.
New Zealand's honours system is our highest public affirmation of outstanding individual achievement. It reinforces those things that make our society better: service, manaakitanga, and the pursuit of excellence. To our recipients, it has been a privilege to hear of your stories. You have each used your talents and abilities to improve the lives of your fellow New Zealanders. In doing so, you embody the spirit of the whakatauki, whaia te iti kahurangi ki te tohu koe me he maunga teitei. Seek the treasure that you value most dearly. If you bow your head, let it be to a lofty mountain. I urge recipients to wear your insignia with pride at every opportunity, knowing that you inspire others by doing so. On behalf of the Queen of New Zealand and all New Zealanders, I congratulate you on your achievements, and I thank you again for your service to our country. Kia ora mai tātou e huhi mai tēnei rā. You will see on the back of your program the words of the national anthem in te reo Māori and in English. I now invite you to stand and join with me in singing the anthem.